like America heard it, that Ben Crump took his client by the hand and walked up the steps of the Jackson County Courthouse, and when they came out, said they are going to cooperate with law enforcement, that they're going to turn over the phones to investigators, have everybody have an opportunity to see it. And it hasn't happened. And so...
On the steps of the Jackson County Courthouse, a promise was made in front of cameras. A phone would be turned over. Investigators would have access. Everyone would see what was on it. That was weeks ago. The phone still has not been handed over.
The only relevance to Nolan's phone, the only relevance at all, has been what people have put on it. Nolan's phone was not hacked into. It wasn't deleted messages from our side, and it was handed over to Christine Wells and her friends that night. And so the only relevance that the phone has is what others have put on it, not us.
Think of a phone sitting on a kitchen counter face down, not lost, not destroyed, just sitting there. Its screen dark, its contents unexamined. The entire case reduced to a single object that everyone talks about and no one has actually looked at. The paperwork already knew.
And what is your assertion, Mr. Palcic, as to why they haven't given the phone over?
That one I'm going to stay away from. I will let our litigation papers do the talking, and I also want to refrain from speculating. Because I would not have the foggiest notion. I wouldn't know why.
When asked directly why the phone has not been produced, the attorney for the family gives no answer. He does not speculate. He defers to litigation papers. He says he would not have the foggiest notion, a phone that was promised to the public, and no one can explain why it remains unseen.
Answer works as well. Let me ask you something that you would have reason to pursue. You say our clients, you and Cox obviously have the same position, which is your clients had nothing to do with this. How do you know they had nothing to do with it?
The defense position is straightforward. Their clients were not on the island when the death occurred. They were gone by 40:30 in the afternoon. The phone, they say, is irrelevant to their clients. The only relevance it has ever had is what other people have put on it.
Well, a few things. First of all, they're honest, and obviously we've spoken to them. But more importantly, we know beyond any dispute, beyond any doubt, from a variety of different sources and a variety of different pieces of evidence, we know that they were off that island at approximately 4:30 p.m. on July 4th.
That timeline is the backbone of their argument, off the island at 4:30 p.m. on July 4th, gone hours before sunset. If that is true, then whatever happened to Nolan Wells happened after these young men were already back on the mainland.
So if I could just take that a little bit further, and then I'm sure Tyler can elaborate, but essentially they were gone, and they were gone hours before sunset. They were off that island, and then there are at least two credible witnesses, adults, upstanding members of the community. I won't name them on here out of respect for their privacy, who then saw Nolan at approximately 6 p.m. alive and well, still on the island.
But the defense goes further. They say there are witnesses, two credible adults, upstanding members of the community. These witnesses claim they saw Nolan Wells alive and well at approximately 6 p.m. still on the island, still present, still alive.
Time as you want.
Sure, I want to be respectful of your time, but I'll just say this. I had never been to Mississippi before. I felt the warmth of the folks there. I was welcomed in, and I was grateful to have the opportunity to visit Horn Island last Friday. And here's the thing: unless you've been to the island, you really can't talk about the case in the same way, because once you go to the island, you see, okay, it's approximately 10 mile long barrier island, but it's only, a few hundred yards wide or so. It's flat with low sand dunes, and there are no trees, no buildings, no visual obstructions, and you had several thousand people out there on July 4th.
Then comes the visual testimony. One attorney describes visiting Horn Island himself. He walked the terrain. He saw the landscape. A 10-mile barrier island, a few hundred yards wide, flat, low sand dunes, no trees, no buildings, no visual obstructions. Several thousand people there on July 4th. His conclusion is direct. There is no way anyone could have gotten away with murder in broad daylight in that area.
Mr. Cox, Have the boys expressed to you any concern that something may have happened to Nolan Wells, that they've heard anything, that there's anything suspicious, not involving them? I understand that part of your position, but that they have any reason to believe it could have been something other than an accident?
Well, everyone in the world wants to know, just like our boys want to know. And first and foremost, our boys want to know what happened to Nolan Wells. And the plain answer is they don't know. And so have they heard rumors? Have they heard anything? Absolutely, just like everybody else has. But we're not here to speculate. We're not going to speculate as to what happened. And that's just not our job. That's not what we do. We deal with facts, deal with evidence, and the evidence points.
The question is put to the defense. Have the boys expressed any concern that something suspicious happened to Nolan Wells? The answer is careful. They want to know what happened. They have heard rumors, but they do not speculate. They deal with facts. They deal with evidence. The evidence, they say, points to one thing only.
To one thing, is that Warren, Jax, and Morgan had nothing to do with the death of Nolan Wells. And just to go back and talk about a little bit about what Ed said, which was those boys left the island at approximately 4:30. If you remember, Chris, way back when this first started, the online chatter and everything was that these boys left this guy on a deserted island.
Yes. Sounded like five guys went out, four men come back, and the one who didn't come back was a black guy. That is why there was so much.
That one thing is their client's innocence. But then the attorney acknowledges the original narrative. 5 guys went out. 4 men came back. The one who did not return was a black man. That is why there was so much intrigue. That is why a family wanted answers, especially a black family in Mississippi.
Intrigue, especially when the authorities out of the box said no foul play. You put together all the factors of the optics, and it made perfect sense, not just that any family would want answers, but especially a black family in Mississippi would want answers. I didn't have any problem with that until I understood the context of what actually happened on July 4th off of Horn Island.
The attorney says he had no problem with that suspicion until he understood the context. Until he understood what actually happened on July 4th off Horn Island. The optics were explosive. The reality, he claims, was different.
But continue.
Sure. Let me address that a little bit. If you've ever been to Mississippi, you'll know there's like 6 states in this state. The Gulf Coast is its own thing. It is the gem of the entire state. And Mississippi has a history. We know that. We live that every day. African Americans here in Mississippi live that every day. But what I want your viewers to.
He then speaks about Mississippi itself. 6 states in 1 state. The Gulf Coast is its own thing. Mississippi has a history. Everyone knows that history. African Americans in Mississippi live that history every day. But Ocean Springs, he says, is where it stops. The paperwork already knew.
Understand what I want you to understand is that stuff may have happened in Mississippi, but Ocean Springs is where it stops. Mississippi has worked hard. Ocean Springs has worked hard to make sure that is not their reputation. We accept everyone here in Ocean Springs. We love everybody. Ocean Springs has worked hard for that not to be what they're about. And so if I can just get back to what Ed said, when this started, it was, these guys go to a deserted island with their black friend. They come back with no black friend. And that's a horrible narrative. But the reality of the situation is.
Ocean Springs has worked hard, he says, to make sure that is not their reputation. They accept everyone. They love everybody. But the original narrative persists. Guys go to a deserted island with their black friend. They come back with no black friend. It is a horrible narrative. The defense claims the reality is different. 2,000 people on that island. They leave at 4:30. Nolan is still there.
There's 2,000 people on this island. They leave at 4:30. Nolan is still there. We know he's still there. And so the only thing that detractors and people who want, for some odd reason, for Nolan Wells to have been murdered, they doctored a CETO call, enhanced it, which is not enhanced. They just, added more gain and added words to it, where you can read along with inaudible language. And they said, oh, well, that proves that Nolan Wells was on the boat. We know with no doubt in our mind that Nolan was.
Now the hard evidence is challenged. There is an audio recording, a distress call, a call placed to C-Tau. The defense says detractors doctored that call, enhanced it, added gain, added words. They claim the enhanced version made it seem like something happened on the boat. The defense says Nolan Wells was not on that boat when those boys came in.
That's a very important point that you guys should flesh out for the audience. There is a debate about the veracity of that audio. And the reason I don't understand it is, look, I found the version that I saw of the young woman talking about audio sweetening. I Googled all the terms she used, some of them, even though I've been in this business 30 years, I was not familiar with.
The host raises a point. He has heard the terms used by a young woman discussing audio sweetening. The terms were accurate. The techniques were real. Audio enhancement is a legitimate forensic practice, so the debate about the veracity of that audio is central. Is it proof of a crime or proof of manipulation?
CTO Assistant, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What
Hello?
did you say? Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
Then the actual distress call is played. A voice asks for help. The boat is sinking. The water is coming up. The caller gives a description of their location. It is calm, controlled. A group of people in trouble on the water. Nothing in the raw audio indicates a crime. Nothing indicates a body on board.
Here's the problem. My understanding surrounding the investigation, but you guys can actually answer this from your clients, is that the idea that this guy Bart, who got on the boat to help them when they were taking on water, the idea that something happened on the boat when he was there involving Nolan Wells, there were boats all around them. There were people witnessing the event who have talked to investigators about the event. So, except for what could only exist on a podcast, which is a conspiracy that all of these people concerted a story that they have stuck to so far, nobody saw Nolan Wells on the boat with them when it was taking on water and Bart was helping, and nobody saw anything happening that would.
The host explains the investigation's finding. A man named Bart got on the boat to help when it was taking on water. If something happened on that boat involving Nolan Wells, there were boats all around. People witnessed the event. They spoke to investigators. The only way the conspiracy works is if all of those people coordinated a story and stuck to it.
Would have been approximate to what is in that audio. Do your clients verify that?
Do they verify the enhanced audio? Absolutely not. Do they verify?
No. The opposite. Do they verify that Nolan wasn't on the boat and nothing happened like that, what is heard on that audio sweetened?
I want to be clear with you, Chris, and I want to be clear with your audience and your viewers. My clients undoubtedly verify that Nolan Wells was not on the boat on the way back from Horn Island.
The defense is asked directly, do your clients verify the enhanced audio? Absolutely not. Do they verify the opposite? That Nolan was not on the boat and nothing happened like what is heard on that sweetened audio? The attorney is unambiguous. His clients verify that Nolan Wells was not on the boat on the way back from Horn Island.
He was
Right.
still on the
but
island.
there's a second version, which is, oh, no. What the sweetened audio tells us is that they're discussing what they did to Nolan. He didn't have to be on the boat for that conversation to take place. What I'm saying is my understanding of the investigation is that people in the boat in front that was towing the boat at the time and people who were behind as it was leaving say there was no conversation like that going on the boat.
But there is a second version of the theory. The sweetened audio does not prove Nolan was on the boat. It allegedly proves they were discussing what they did to him. The defense rejects this. Witnesses in the boat towing them and witnesses behind them say there was no conversation like that. Not one bit. It never happened.
Not one bit. There was no conversation like that because that never happened.
Hey, thank you for watching.
So what remains is a phone that was promised and never produced. An audio recording that is either a smoking gun or a fabrication. A timeline that places the suspects off the island hours before the death, and a family still waiting for answers. The paperwork already knew. Go read the litigation papers yourself. Pull the court filings. Look at the timeline. Listen to the raw audio and the enhanced version side by side. Then come back here and answer one question. Why has that phone still not been turned over? Subscribe, we will keep asking.